Larry Needlemeyer has hundreds upon hundreds of jobs. He's literally keeping Elmore alive. Without him, the entire town of Elmore would fall apart overnight. But with this many jobs, how much money is Larry really making? Is he secretly a millionaire, quietly stacking cash while pretending to be your average employee? Or is he actually drowning in debt, taking on every job in Elmore just to stay afloat? Well, today, we're gonna find out not just how much he's earning, but how he can do all these jobs at once. But let's start by finding out exactly how many jobs he's had. We see his first job in the first episode of Gumball, where Larry is just your average video store clerk at Laser Video. A few episodes later, he pops up as a cashier at Food and Stuff. Then suddenly, he's behind the counter at the gas station and flipping burgers at Joyful Burger. After that, things really start to spiral. He's selling shoes, running the tech section at Ripley 2000, working retail at Elmore Shopping, managing a pizza place, dressing up as Mall Santa, showing up at another convenience store, driving an ice cream truck, handling pest control, working as a mechanic, doing accounting for the police, working at the movie theater, running a hot dog stand, managing a play center for some reason, working at the Bank of Elmore, serving tables at dinner, helping out the local pet store, working as a 911 operatorissimo, finding time to be a genetic engineer and create his own custom animal to top it all off. He also works at the town's eco grocery store, Organic and Stuff, and serves tea at Tea and Stuff. Altogether, with all those jobs I mentioned, that's about $1,708,000 a year if he's working full-time. In the menu, Larry says he can't afford to lose his job because he still has 37 others. I can't lose this job, I only have 37 others. So either Larry has lost count of how many jobs he has, or he's lying to keep how much he's really made a secret. But in this same episode, it turns out that there are 22 Joyful Burgers in Elmore, all of which Larry seems to work at anywhere. The Wattersons are he follows, so Larry could realistically be managing, cooking, cleaning, and cashiering at every single location. Sometimes all in the same day. If each of those restaurants requires those for positions, that's already 88 potential roles just from Joyful Burger alone. And if he's pulling double or even triple shifts, especially considering how he's often seen running the place by himself, then his work and paycheck multiplies fast. And that doesn't even cover everything else. Each store needs a janitor, stocker, maintenance, customer service desk, and more. If Larry's covering even half of those roles across multiple stores, that's easily over 100 more jobs on top of what he's already doing. And when you throw in all the other places he randomly pops up at, Larry could easily be juggling thousands of jobs. No wonder why Elmore would fall apart if Larry ever quit. He's literally the backbone of the entire town, which really makes you wonder, how does one guy manage to juggle so many jobs? Well, in the episode The Nobody, when Gumball and Darwin try to give Rob examples of who he can be in Elmore to help him find his identity, we see characters like Rocky, Banana Joe, and Larry himself. But not just one Larry, we see multiple of them, all with different outfits for different jobs. From cashier to mechanic to pizza and even burgers, Larry just passes by himself like it's a normal Tuesday. Which it might be since it's Elmore. However, for the sake of this video, we're going to assume that Larry can't actually spawn multiple of himself. But we really find out how Larry actually balances so many jobs in the episode The Schooling, where Larry lets Gumball and Darwin take over his massive to-do list during his once-a-year 5-minute break. At first, they think it'll be easy, but it quickly turns into total chaos. They're scrubbing disgusting gas station bathrooms, dealing with insane customers, delivering pizzas to impossible places, even getting trampled on Black Friday. What seemed like a simple favor turns into the worst 5 minutes of their lives. As they go to each job, they keep popping up in completely different locations, from Joyful Burger to movie theaters and even pet stores. So Larry could possibly be going job to job, teleporting around Elmore at lightning speed. It would explain how he could be dealing with Richard in one job while also dealing with Gumball in another. He has the ability to slow time and work at multiple places at once. If this is the case, it's 100% possible for Larry to be taking on multiple roles for each job. Since Elmore is in California, if Larry clocked his full-time hours for every job he took on, he'd be making way more than your average paycheck. Somehow worked at all 88 jobs at the 20 to Joyful Burger locations, 40 hours a week at $20 an hour. he'd be making around $70,400 every week. That's $3.6 million a year just from Joyful Burger, and that's only for single shifts. If he was doing double shifts, that jumps to $7,322,000 a year. And that's not even counting all the other places where he could work at multiple locations, like Ripley 2000, the gas station, convenience stores, the bank, and all the rest of his jobs. Not so counting everything. If he was doing double shifts and overtime like we frequently see him do, he could be making tens of millions of dollars per year. That's 100 times what someone would think Larry's making. On the surface, he looks like your typical underpaid, overworked employee just trying to survive. Larry might not just be getting by, he could be secretly making millions. But is Larry really hiding his fortune from all of Elmore? Acting like your average hardworking with multiple jobs? Because that's how Gumball sees Larry and maybe everyone else in Elmore. Well, the idea of Larry secretly being rich is pretty cool and would give Larry some interesting lore. He was really hiding his money. It's actually possible that Larry is completely broke. Yes, the guy who makes $7 million a year just from Joyful Burger is going broke. How is that even possible? Well, in the episode The Finale, Larry finally explains where all of his money actually goes. In this episode, the Wattersons realize that their actions have consequences and are slammed with an $800,000 bill for all the damage they did to Elmore. Here's your half of the bill for the reconstruction work before they even have a chance to process it. Principal Brown appears and says Gumball and Darwin have to start over from kindergarten, and then Richard is threatened to go to jail for years of unpaid fines. Everything comes crashing down, and if they don't figure it out, they can lose their house. Gumball, Darwin, and Richard scramble to fix it all in one single day. But they might have gotten the wrong idea of fixing it, because in the end, they end up hijacking a school bus, crashing into the Fitzgerald's house, just eventually to get arrested. Meanwhile, Nicole and Annis try to do things the right way through the legal system, but it immediately backfires when they're buried under a mountain of unsolved offenses. Out of options, they resort to apologizing to everyone they've ever wronged, starting with the one person who's constantly taking the fall for all their chaos. Larry. Instantly, he's not having it. Larry explains that every time he even talks to a Watterson, something terrible happens, and it always hits his wallet. Every time you guys mess something up, I have to pay for it out of my own wages. And in this episode alone, that damage adds up to a staggering $101,435,000. Poor Larry is drowning in debt and juggling dozens of jobs to keep up with the damage the Wattersons left behind. And if you've seen my video, how much has Gumball cost Elmore? You'd know if Larry even works twice as hard, he still wouldn't come close to paying off Gumball's insane amounts of damage he's done to Elmore. Larry's mentioned before that the constant, low-level fear of not being able to pay rent is what keeps him going. He says that maybe if he had just stuck to school, maybe things would have turned out differently. And maybe the lesson for this video is to stay in school if you don't want to end up like Larry. And, also subscribe. No. Screw it, that's actually the lesson of this video. Subscribe.